We're live now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Crystal Dunning, and on behalf of the Nebraska Arts Council, I'd like to welcome you to this panel meeting. We've convened to review applications in the annual series and event grant category. Decisions made by this panel will determine the funding for all applications, and they will be reviewed by the NAC Council at the next meeting to convene on June 9th, 2026. Now I'd like for each of our panelists to introduce themselves to one another and to those listening in, and I'll call upon you one by one. Let's start with Eric Giles.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Giles. I am the Community Learning Director for the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies. My job there is to take care of our professional learning, so conferences, online learning, training, and peer groups.
Thanks, Eric. Casey?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Casey Norman. I am the Arts and Education Program Manager at the Alabama State Council on the Arts.
Thanks, Casey. And Charlene?
Hi, I'm Charlene Pierce, and I'm a poet and teaching artist and president of the Nebraska Poetry Society.
Thanks, Charlene. And Sarah?
Good morning. I am Sarah. I am the Senior Program Officer at the Greater Grand Island Community Foundation. I am also the Administrator for the Grand Island Creative Arts District.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So next, Mike, is there anything that you would like to say?
Yes, I would. Good morning and congratulations to everybody who has had an application in this category. You're in this category because you do something very well and you've done it every year. And so we appreciate what you do for your community and the art that you bring. We are doing things a little bit differently this year. And so I hope you get a lot out of the panel today. And we always appreciate your feedback about the process. As always, we encourage you to reach out to your elected officials and let them know about your project. Thank them for the public support that they provide for you, and invite them to your events, especially this year, this coming summer. In fact, in a few days, you'll know who the candidates are in your area, and many of you have elections going on in your districts. So I encourage you to find out more about your candidates and invite them to your events. Let them know about what it is that you do, the impact of public funding on your event and your community. And if you'd like any help in that area, you can always reach out to us or our good friends at the Nebraskans for the Arts. With that, enjoy the process, and I hope to see you all soon. Take care. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Rachel, would you explain the panel process to anyone listening in, please?
Absolutely. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining in today. The reviewers have read and reviewed the applications prior to this panel and have scored them according to the rubric that was linked in the application. Applicants are encouraged to listen to the reviews, but will not be able to interact with the panelists. Written minutes will be provided to all applicants. Award notices will be sent after the Nebraska Arts Council board meeting in June. The Nebraska Arts Council staff are here to answer any questions for applicants before applications are submitted, but we are not a part of the panel discussion. This conversation is for the panelists, and staff are only here to clarify questions about process.
Thanks, Rachel. All right, let's begin. Rachel will provide a brief synopsis of each application, and then I will call upon panelists one by one for your comments in this order: primary reviewer, and then secondary reviewer, and then the remaining reviewers one at a time. We'll now proceed with the first application, and it is the Asian Community and Cultural Center with the primary reviewer, Eric Giles.
So I'll start with the brief summary. This grant will help pay the artist fees for 10 to 12 performing groups. at the 2026 Harvest Moon Festival on September 26th at Lincoln Antelope Park Bandshell. They expect approximately 2,000 people from Lincoln and the surrounding communities to attend the free family-friendly event. The use of funds will pay for the cultural performance groups, photographers, videographers, and promotional materials designers.
I guess that means I'm up, Crystal.
Yes, correct.
Thanks. I found this proposal to be a strong and compelling program that demonstrates clear alignment with the goals of artistic quality, effective planning, and meaningful community engagement. So it really presents a vibrant and culturally rich program that's, both has that artistic merit community relevance. The focus on traditional dance, music, and cultural expression really offers audiences an opportunity to experience like a wide range of artistic practices rooted in diverse cultural traditions. I really appreciate that they've identified specific performance groups and included artist bios, which help illustrate that depth and the authenticity of the programming. I do think, they could be a little better about articulating how they assess these groups, how they curated the folks that are performing there. But all in all, I found that the artistic vision itself was thoughtful and inclusive and well aligned with what they put out there. In terms of planning and evaluation, I feel really confident this organization can successfully execute this. Timeline's detailed, clearly assigns responsibilities, shows strong understanding of the logistical requirements of producing a large-scale public event. The leadership seems experienced. The staff seems they've managed this festival over multiple years. They know what they're doing. I didn't see any problems with that. I think the goals are clearly stated, tied directly to community outcomes like cultural preservation and cross-cultural understanding. I found the evaluation plan, it's based primarily on attendance tracking and participant surveys. It's appropriate for what this is. I also found it a little basic. I am a bit of a nerd when it comes to kind of evaluation. So I would like to see a little more specific measurable indicators tied to each goal. So I think that would be a good next step with this. Budget was reasonable and balanced, had clear alignment between what the expenses and activities were. They maybe could have gone into a little more detail with some of the line items, but nothing that stuck out that I felt was inappropriate or non-illustrative of what's actually going on. Finally, this program is really strong in outreach and engagement. I actually think that's its greatest asset. They demonstrate a really deep understanding of the community it serves. They support it with good demographic data, clear articulation of the needs. It's very intentionally designed to reach underserved populations, particularly immigrants, refugees, and provides meaningful access through like free admission, translation services, transportation support. I'm like super impressed with the breadth of this outreach strategy, including the multilingual communications and partnerships with the community organizations and media outfits. Just kind of to sum up, this is highly responsive to community and really well positioned for success. I think it's inclusive approach and organizational capacity with knowledge of clear and understanding of the community impact would be great. Again, just some additional clarity around artistic selection criteria, maybe some robust evaluation metrics would take it to the next level, but otherwise this was an exceptional proposal.
Thanks, Eric. Secondary reviewer Charlene.
Hey, that was really, really in depth, Eric. I don't know that I have much to add to that. I did on the feedback forms. I wondered if that needed to be in a native language. It didn't, because they did state in the outreach and engagement that they do the marketing in native language, but that wasn't stated on the feedback form. Maybe it is, I'm not sure. I just wondered if that would be needed, and maybe it already is. I don't think I have anything else to add other than that. I think you covered everything that I had. Yeah, you covered a lot, Eric. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlene. Casey.
I do not have anything else to add either. I think Eric's kind of summary was very much in line with a lot of my notes and clarified some of the things that I had also interpreted a little bit differently. And hearing his explanation made things click. So,
Thank you. Sarah.
Also, pretty much everything said, really strong application. A couple of small things that I would appreciate as feedback if I had written this grant. And in the planning process, it would be good to include a wrap up at the end, or, you know, kind of a postmortem, just talking about what to do for next year. And in community demographics, I would like to know more about the languages spoken and the percentage that they make up of the population. And then under community support, and you're going to hear this a lot today, but as someone from a community foundation, I wonder if community foundations had been reached out, because this is a really great project for the community and would love for them to be involved.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everyone. All right. If you need to adjust your scores, please do so and give a thumbs up when you're ready to move on. All right. I see that everyone has indicated that they're done, so we'll move on to the next application. Rachel, over to you for Bassett Arts Council.
Wonderful. Thank you, Crystal. So the Bassett Arts Council, this is for a series of events, which include jams with Lyle Anthony, face painting in correlation with the Rock County Museum, Chamber, and Rock County Library, which is a part of a 250th celebration. There's cookie decorating, Halloween and Thanksgiving coloring contest, Missoula Children's Theater, the Jane Memorial Art Show, and Get Your Paint On with Susie and Sherry. The use of funds is for the artists, paints, brushes, canvases, cookie making materials, paper, and ink that will be used as part of the series.
Thanks, Rachel. Our primary reviewer is Charlene.
Hi, thank you, Crystal and Rachel. So I thought the art show demonstrates strong artistic merit because it offers local artists an opportunity to gain recognition, professional practice, and encouragement. I think that's important for this community, being a smaller area. The Missoula Children's Theater teaches theater skills to children, painting classes teach techniques to adults, and all the instructors appear qualified to lead those activities. So I saw strong artistic merit there. The application also shows that the jam sessions are meaningful to the well-being and social connection of the senior community, and the band appears qualified. I'm not sure how that contributes artistically to the broader community and how that ties to artistic merit, and maybe some of you being more experienced on the panel might be able to clarify that for me. The same is true for the face painting and the cookie decorating. So they're healthy, family-friendly, artistic endeavors. I'm not sure the artistic merit in terms of the rubric and how we're grading the application today. So the goals that they talked about in the planning and evaluation, the goals are to grow the event engagement, but it doesn't provide specific attendance numbers, to quantify what that growth needs to look like, what has been in the past, what it needs to be, what type of growth they want. It's a very community focused, which is nice, and the organization has a chamber member on the board that keeps them tied to the community and also helps avoid potential conflicts. It shows a clear understanding of how weather can affect us in an agricultural community. So weather can definitely affect, attendance, and they seem to have a clear understanding of that and have a plan in place to pivot when needed. the project timeline includes events and dates and identifies the person responsible for each event, but it doesn't include a timeline for the preparatory planning leading up to the event. You know, the things that need to be done, you know, the marketing for it, the outreach, the, you know, confirmation of artists and tools and those types of things. So on the outreach and engagement, the organization responded to community interest in the Missoula Children's Theater by continuing the program. There was discussion about possibly skipping it due to expenses. And they also made the jam sessions a regular monthly event due to community appeal. Because of the organization's rural location, its focus on community-based events supports the goal of reaching underserved communities. The partnership with the Niobrara 35 Art Show helps expand reach beyond the immediate community, and a letter of support from community member reinforces their importance in the community. The application notes the previous advertising efforts were expensive, but they didn't significantly affect attendance. However, it didn't really explain how they pivoted this year, what they cut, you know, what was expensive, how they adjusted to that. It said that they will continue advertising through radio and newspaper because of the older community, but I'm not sure if that's part of the expensive part that they didn't feel generated results, or if that's something that they felt that was working. The application also mentions that Stewart and Atkinson no longer have art councils, but it didn't state if it was going, you know, outreach to those communities, which it seems that would be an important area to reach out to, unless the radio and newspaper reaches them, and I'm unaware it might. And the Children's Theater seems like a really important part of this project. And I realized that some of this is happening outside of school time, but the schools could be a great partnership, and it didn't mention outreach to them. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Charlene. Secondary reviewer, Eric.
Thank you, Crystal. Charlene did a really good job of hitting a lot of the points I had, so I'll try and just fill in some of the other gaps that I saw. I thought that they did a really good job of providing demographic context, including kind of describing the small aging population and the limited nearby cultural infrastructure. So seeing that and seeing their programming is developed in a very responsive way to those conditions, like offering the low cost and free opportunities. I thought that was really well aligned. Charlene mentioned that, you know, that it felt like the artistic components could be a little more developed. To me, that being said, I think it's, you know, what they're proposing is, you know, relevant to what's going on. I think it's more about articulating it in the proposal than actually what's happening there. Again, you know, I'm the evaluation guy. I think they could strengthen it with some more measurable goals and structured evaluation process. It just felt like this was leaning heavily on kind of more casual feedback. I know it's a small event, so sometimes it's not possible and you don't have the capacity for that, but I do think that's kind of a next step that could be taken. Really appreciate the consistency of the events and involvement of everyone in the community, the board members. Budget, clear, balanced, and appropriate, really reflected the scope of what's going on. I think expenses were reasonable. I would say their income projections are based on prior experience, and so they're a bit estimated, but that aligned well with you know, the size and capacity of what's going on. One thing about community engagement that I was impressed with is the partnerships. They had a lot of partners for such a small area: the Chamber of Commerce, library, schools, historical society, media outlets. I mean, you know, this, you know, is going to help them reach outside into the region beyond. I think that was really thoughtful approach to that, and a thoughtful approach to serving the population. I thought, you know, this was a really good proposal. It addressed a lot of gaps in kind of arts access that you sometimes see in rural settings.
Thanks, Eric. Sarah.
All right, just a couple of small things to add. I also thought that it was very thorough. It's hard when you are writing in a grant that has so many events in it. And so I appreciated that they did a good job of addressing all of the different events in an organized manner. Going down to community demographics, other parts of the application mentioned Spanish-speaking participants, but the Spanish language was not addressed in community demographics. It's just lumped together as other races. Under outreach and accessibility, there was a Spanish flyer, which I think is great, or flyer in Spanish, but how are they making the events more accessible? So if you get people there that speak Spanish, are they feeling welcomed at the events? And going towards the underserved outreach again, what are you kind of doing more for the non-English speaking? So sort of everything kind of in that area. I think that some more time could be spent on that. And I know that they will, because they just seem so thoughtful about all of the elderly and the young and every part of their community that they serve.
Thanks, Sarah. And Casey.
Yeah, I just had a couple of more probably suggestions for future grant writing for them. Is that I agree it felt a little bit casual, and so maybe a lot of that could be like familiarity with the programs and having recurring events like this. So, make sure you always have the perspective of, I'm introducing these programs to somebody brand new that has no idea. Um, and so not maybe including a little bit more formal descriptions, especially in evaluation. I also had a question, and I may have misunderstood the budget, but clarifying there's the executive director was included in both the administrative payroll as well as an artist being paid with the funds. And so just clarifying how that kind of works out would have made the application even better. I thought that it was really great. I really thought that it's very clear that they are in tune and woven into the fabric of their community, which is great. So just a couple of suggestions about future applications.
Thanks, Casey. All right. Thank you, everyone. If you need a moment to adjust your scores, please do so. And then if you can give me a thumbs up once you've done that.
That was all for Crystal.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I missed Eric's. Apologies there. All right. Let's move on to our next application. Rachel, Brownville Village Theater Foundation.
Oh, hey, give me a minute. I brought up the wrong one.
Okay.
We have two Brownvilles and the other one is tomorrow. And I brought up the wrong one. So give me just a hot minute. As I was reading the description, I was like, wait a minute. This doesn't seem right. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. I was just letting you all get a drink of coffee real quick. I was thinking just of you. Okay, Brownville Village Theater Foundation. So this grant is to help fund the project costs of the Brownville Village Theater's 59th summer repertory season. The awarded funds will assist in the production costs of the five-show summer stock repertory season of the Brownville Village Theater.
All right, awesome. So this is one of those projects where you can just tell that the planning group has it down pat. I'm like, done it 59 seasons. Congratulations. That's amazing. You all very much seem to know what you're doing and have a do a good job of articulating that to someone who's not familiar with the program. I loved the theme of this year, the meaning of home. I thought that was really great. And their selections leading under that theme were very thoughtful. The artistic merit was very high. For actual grant writing, I thought their project description was very thorough, which again, I appreciate. They did a good job of explaining it to someone who's unfamiliar. Going down to goals and evaluations, I would like to see SMART goals or something a little bit more measurable. I think Eric and I are kind of on that same path where doing more or having higher attendance is nice, but I've found in organizations that I work with, when you have an achievable number, that you have a reason for that, it makes meeting those so much more strategic and more celebratory, which I love. The ad hoc sort of gathering of evaluation and feedback is good, but I think something a little bit more structured could be helpful. I thought the planning process was really well done. Again, you guys got this down pat. Love a well-oiled machine. In the budget, I did have a couple of questions, and I invite, again, my fellow panelists to maybe provide some insight if they have any of these. There was a line item for sprinklers, so wondering what that was for. And then they have internships, which is fantastic and a great way for people to help build their resume. They are only paid $100. And so I was just wondering what length of or what amount of time or effort is put in if they're being paid $100. Just curious there for more information. Community demographics, nailed it. Really good job describing the community that they serve. Outreach and accessibility was high. I would love to see a suggestion of some sort of pop-up show or something. I love art in unexpected places. I feel like that always catches people that may not know about you. So what would that look like to help raise awareness to maybe community members that you don't already have involved? Your underserved outreach was really great. I was wondering what would happen if you hosted something for non-English speaking audiences. What could that look like? I've seen in the performance world some really interesting way of doing that. Would love to see that just be something different that you could offer. I was also in the narrative, it talked about that it was like $12 a ticket, and that is an accessible ticket price. And I was wondering how that's accessible. How is that determined? What was that based on? I talked about there's a process for free tickets, which sounds great. I'm wondering what that process is. Other organizations that I've worked with will do something with like a local library. So anyone who has a library card can get a ticket, which I appreciate. I think, if it's making people identify that they can't afford a ticket or having to fill something out, that can be deterring. So just wanted to make sure that accessibility is being considered. So just looking for more information there. And then finally, under the selection of the pieces that are performed, it said to add value to your audience's lives, which I think is great, but I just wonder how that is articulated. Is that something in feedback? Do you have, maybe like a focus group that you're like, do you like these ideas? I would hate to just kind of assume that this is something that would add to the audience's life. So trying to just get some more information about where that comes from. But overall, really well done. And I think this is so great. Such a great program for us to have in Nebraska.
Thanks, Sarah. Casey.
Yeah, Sarah really kind of said everything that I also felt and articulated in my evaluation. I felt like the true strength of the application really was the planning section. It was just like, okay, yep, I got it. I got the clear picture. I know what's happening. It all makes sense. And so I thought this was a really impressive application. So that's all I really have to add, because Sarah did a great job. Thanks.
Thanks, Casey. Eric.
Thanks, Sarah and Casey captured it all.
All right. And Charlene.
I agree. This is a really strong application, and did a good job at really explaining the artistic merit and the educational value to the community. On the accessibility for low income, it stated that special performances are offered for low income community members. And I just wondered why they had to be a different performance, why low income, why they couldn't attend the same performance. Yeah, and that's really the only question I had. Everything else was well stated and great. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlene. All right, thanks everyone. If you need to adjust your scores, please do so. And can you give me a thumbs up once you are ready to move on? All right, thanks everyone. Rachel, over to you for the next application, and that is going to be the Butler County Arts Council.
Thanks, Crystal. So this grant is to help pay the artists contracted for the next season for the Butler County Arts Council. It includes art day camps, an artistic photography competition at the county fair, and a performance, a drama festival with all 3 county high school 1-acts, a Christmas concert with area singers, and art shows in April and in August in the local library from 3 different shows. The use of funds will be for artist fees, for paid professional musicians. Yeah, and that's it.
Thank you. And Eric, you are our primary reviewer.
Thank you, Crystal. I found this to be a strong community-centered proposal. There's a lot of clear evidence of sustained local impact, though I think that could be articulated a little bit better and measured a little bit better. From an artistic standpoint, the project really emphasizes accessibility and participation, presenting like a cohesive season of programming that includes performances, exhibition, arts instruction, community-based events. I really appreciate it's not a single event, but an ongoing place-based effort with like a lot of entry points, including like youth programming, community choir opportunities, and performances in nursing homes. I think that really shows a meaningful commitment to embedding the arts in everyday community life, which I really appreciate. At the same time, I think the proposal leans a little heavily on access rather than on maybe artistic rigor, and that it could maybe benefit. I think it could benefit from a clearer articulation of what their artistic vision is, maybe what their intent is, and kind of what defines excellence across the season for them. What are they looking at when it comes to defining that? Planning and capacity, I think it looks like it's well positioned to deliver this. It's done it before. Key elements are already confirmed. Like, they have the venues, they have the artists, they have the collaborators, they know what's going on. The leadership structure is stable and has long-term community involvement. Budget is balanced, shows a healthy mix of earned and contributed income. Again, I think the proposal is less developed in evaluation. So the goals around the access and participation are clear, but they're not really tied to any specific metrics or benchmarks. So it feels fairly informal. I think strengthening that area would make it, easier for them to really assess impact and support kind of future learning and programming, and be a little more targeted to community needs, maybe. Outreach and engagement are, again, the central strengths. I think there's clear attention to local context and barriers like geography and access. Again, they've built solid partnerships with the schools, libraries, and other community groups, and they show a strong commitment to serving both young folks and older adults. Saying young folks makes me seem like an older adult. However, outreach strategies themselves are somewhat modest and rely largely on kind of traditional methods. I think there's an opportunity there to be more intentionally address the changing demographics in their area, particularly in engaging Spanish-speaking communities. But all in all, I think this is a solid proposal and shows a real deep commitment to the community-based arts programming. Again, I think more clear articulation of artistic merit and more rigorous evaluation would lead to more strategic, forward-looking outreach and approaches moving forward.
Thanks, Eric. Sarah.
All right. A couple, very few things to add to Eric's very thorough evaluation of it. From a grant writing point of view, the project description, the short project description had more information than the regular project description. So I would, when you write everything, kind of go back and look at it and make sure that all of that aligns and that things are kind of where they should be. So that's just kind of a small thing. Again, with the goals and evaluations, I love a good evaluation. The planning process, there were 4 names missing, or there were names missing on who exactly was doing what. So a few more details there would be helpful. And the museum in the budget, and that there's a $2,000 for museum support. Which I didn't initially understand, but now I'm wondering if that's for the arts classes that are held there, but just a little bit more detail there so we understand where that money was going. The community demographics, you could use census data or other sources just for some more specifics. Eric talked about the outreach. I felt like one of the, it could be a little bit more proactive. Is that's one of the things that we were looking at, and again, reaching out to Latinx community. The letters of support, love that they donated to Nebraska for the arts. That's great. Not 100% sure how that supports the community, shows community support, but maybe in a broader sense. But overall, I think that they're really responsive, again, to what what their community was interested in. And so excited for the community to have all these awesome events to attend. Really well planned.
Thanks, Sarah. Next, we've got Casey.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. Both Eric and Sarah really covered it.
All right. And Charlene.
Yeah, I think everything was covered. Feedback, they said that it's conversations, after events and something more structured. As Eric mentioned, I think he talked about that. I don't think I have anything else. I think everybody covered everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like a
Thanks, everyone. All right. If you need a moment to adjust your scores, please do so and give me a thumbs up once you've completed that. All right, thanks everyone. We will now move on to our next application, the Great American Comedy Festival. And Rachel, over to you.
Thanks, Crystal. So the Great American Comedy Festival is held every Father's Day weekend with 5 shows over the course of 4 days. All performances are meant to foster a cultural exchange while also honoring the legacy of Norfolk native Johnny Carson. The programming includes family-friendly magic, which is a nod to Johnny's love of the art form, stand-up, which includes previous acts such as Martin Short, James Austin, Vicki Lawrence, and the Smothers Brothers, and improv. They estimate 6,000 people will attend. Funds from this award will be used to increase awareness for the festival through advertising and targeted promotion, driving the efforts of creating a fun cultural exchange between Nebraska audience and international acts.
Thanks, Rachel. Casey, your primary reviewer.
Sure, thank you. So being from another state arts agency, this one was a challenge at first because in my state this would not be eligible, and so having to kind of reframe my thinking. I felt like the application was incredibly thorough, and I thought that they had a really good kind of big picture. They're serving a huge amount of people for little tiny communities. So I thought that was a really interesting and very cool thing for this area of the state to have access to. I think is really interesting. And I would have liked a little bit more teasing out of artistic merit of the festival rather than just a laundry list of comedians. I felt like they leaned a little too much on kind of name dropping rather than these are why we're choosing these people. And this is what we're hoping the community gets out of it. But I thought that, overall the planning was really strong. I did feel like there could have been strengthened by some more intentional evaluation methods. But again, I think for the most part with the kind of large scale events, it's very common and understanding that you kind of rely on attendance tracking. I thought the outreach initiatives were the strongest part of the application. I absolutely love the idea of sending the comedians to the nursing facilities in the area and making sure that everybody has some kind of touch point to this community offering. So, yeah, I thought that it was a really strong application overall, and especially with the outreach.
Thanks, Casey. Eric.
Thanks, Crystal. I'm in alignment with Casey on a lot of this. It's just a few things I wanted to mention. I want to emphasize that it did feel more like name dropping to me than really kind of going into how they decided on these folks. So there was an assumption we know the national comedians, that we know these people. So they were really leaning heavily on people being known rather than talking a little bit more about how they were, how these folks were decided and planned. That being said, it was an effective mix of those kind of nationally recognized comedians and emerging talent. So it was a good list. I just think there were some assumptions there. I think that the budget was well balanced and transparent, really had a lot of diverse revenue streams. It seemed like they had a lot of meaningful community partnerships and strong local support. That being said, I felt like there was not a lot about how they're impacting the community outside of their outreach and going to that. So talking a little bit more about what they bring to the community as well I'd be interested to see that. I think that again kind of falls back into that evaluation framework that they're looking at attendance and ticket sales and general feedback. I think taking that next step into, looking at community impact, looking at some other metrics that they ask the audience members there, maybe ask the performers their experience in the community. I think some of these things would bring a lot more to how they do their programming, as well as to, how they're able to communicate about where this sits within the local community and the state as far as artistic programming goes. I do think they rely heavily on their reputation and past successes. So I think more detail on what their artistic vision for 2027. I know I mentioned that, but I think that really kind of stuck with me a bit. I think that covers it as far as kind of what I'd add to what Casey said or reinforce what Casey said.
Thanks, Eric. Charlene.
Yeah, thank you. I had a little bit different take on this. I think it demonstrated a strong community engagement and the high quality comedic artists, bringing the youth to these shows with the free tickets, that's exposing them to comedic and performance-based art that they wouldn't otherwise have exposure to. So I saw high artistic merit there. I do think it could be improved, especially since they have such high quality performers come in, and if they had a little bit more of an educational piece to it somehow, somewhere, maybe a workshop, maybe just going to the schools, maybe a day camp, whatever that could be. It feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity. I think the goals of the festival are really clear. The budget is clear, and it has really strong corporate support, which really shows the value of the event in the community. Let me see. The application did mention the possibility in future shows for Native and Spanish-speaking populations, but I'm not sure why they mentioned that in this application if it isn't a priority for this particular application. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlene. And Sarah.
Charlene, you took the words out of my mouth. Love that they're thinking about those more diverse shows. But why are you not doing them? I guess is my question. Under goals and evaluations, it said reflect all of Nebraska. Would love to know more about what that means. Specifically from kind of a grant writing feedback, they talk about a 10% growth, which is great, but that should be in goals, not in evaluation. I also can't help but notice that a lot of the names that they do mention are all men. And I know the comedy world is very male heavy. But if the goal is to reflect all of Nebraska, there's a lot of women here, and would just love to see some more effort being made. And maybe it's about, lifting up voices that are not always captured.
Thanks, Sarah. All right. If you need a moment to adjust your scores, please do so. And then if you can give me a thumbs up when you're ready to move on to the next application. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everyone. Next application is the Lincoln Crossroads Festival. Rachel, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Crystal. And just kind of logistically, I thought we would do one more review and then we'll probably take a break just in case if you're looking at your clock going, guys. So, the Lincoln Crossroads Festival, this grant is to support the festival, which is a free multi-day series of concerts, artist residencies, workshops, and family programs presented in Lincoln and in Omaha in July and August. The festival brings nationally and internationally recognized artists together with Nebraska musicians in collaborative performances that reflect the state's diverse cultural communities. They estimate 4,000 to 5,000 people from across the state will attend festival programs. Any funds awarded will be used to pay the artist fees.
Thanks, Rachel. Casey, over to you.
Yes. So I felt like this was such a strong application throughout. What a great event. And the fact that it's all being offered to the public for free is huge. In 2 different places. I mean, very, very impressive. I felt like their planning was really solid, as well as their evaluation methods. And I've even felt like that they did a really good job of explaining in a limited amount of space of the narrative box of how they look at the year before year before and how that impacts moving forward and kind of adjusting and pivoting and adapting. And I also really like that any funds that are awarded from this application will all go towards paying artists in Nebraska. That's a huge thing, to be able to pay people to do the things that they love to do and to help them thrive in an artistic profession. So, overall, I just thought this was a really, really strong application.
Thanks, Casey. Sarah?
Yep, I agree with Casey. Goals and evaluations could be a little bit stronger. Again, just SMART goals. Just again with the specifics. It's just something that I think is important. For outreach, I have lived in Nebraska the second time since 2020, so 6 years, and I have never heard of this. And I live within driving distance to Lincoln and Omaha, and this is the sort of thing that would bring me there. And so I think the outreach could be expanded. And I'm, pretty heavily involved in arts out here, and so I think that maybe looking at a little bit larger of an area for advertising, because I think you could get more than 5,000 or 6,000 people with how well seems to be done and how much thought they put in and the diversity of programming and things like that. And then again, just putting on my community foundation hat, I hope they've been asked because this is great. And you've got several in those areas that maybe would support.
Thanks, Sarah. Eric?
I agree, but I want to add one thing that I really appreciated. I really appreciated that the underserved communities are not only considered as audience, but they're actively reflected in the leadership and programming decisions. I thought that was amazing to see that, and I like how they communicated that.
Thanks, Eric. And Charlene?
Yes, same. Also, they flipped the narrative a little bit and kind of spoke to the non-refugee community as being underserved in terms of exposure to that culture, and I thought that was really smart. Very well written. So I think it really, I don't have a whole lot to add other than I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of engagement with the artists beyond the performances. Just, again, that could add, it has high artistic merit, but that would even add to that.
Thanks, Charlene. All right. If you all need a moment to adjust your scores, please do so. And then if you can give me a thumbs up once you're done. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Charlene. All right. We're going to take a moment to pause here and take a break, and we'll return at 10 Central or the top of the hour, wherever your time zone is. So I will see you all here in roughly 7 minutes.
How's it going so far, Crystal?
So far, so good.
Rachel and I were just talking in the hallway about how nice the reviews all are, including Sarah. Hey, Sarah, when this is over with, can you hang back a minute? I wanted to ask your advice about something.
I'd be honored.
Wonderful. I'll talk to you afterwards. Charlene, thanks again for helping us out with this. I know you stepped in at the last minute, and I really appreciate that.
You bet. Anytime. Happy to help.
All right. As folks are coming back. Casey, Eric, are you with us yet? All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Rachel, are we ready to resume?
We'll wait for Sam to,
Oh.
I just saw him like fly by. So we'll wait for him to take the slide down. Josh, you're back, right? Okay.
I'm here.
Yes, Sam ran in here to warn me that we were live during that blackout, so I appreciate it. He should be back now.
He's like, Mike, you're being recorded.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Let's proceed. Our next application is the McCook Arts Council. Rachel, over to you.
Thank you. So this application is to help cover artist and presenter fees for the 2027 Buffalo Commons Storytelling and Music Festival, which will take place in June of 2027. So we're over a year away. This is the 30th anniversary of the festival, and we anticipate an attendance nearing 1,000. The funding from this application will help pay for the artist fees and festival promotion.
Thanks, Rachel. Sarah, over to you.
All right, another one, 30 years strong, very impressive. And I love that, well, I know that the grant is requiring you to look ahead, but love planning early, especially for Milestone Festival. Overall, I thought it was a really strong application. As I said, you can tell that they've been doing it for a long time. Seems like a well-oiled machine. And they have a good large group working on things and a lot of community buy-in, which is so key to making something, this big, successful, and well-loved by the community. Going over a few specifics, just a short note that the short description that was provided and talking about what the funds would be used for did not exactly match the question of what the funds will be used for. So making sure that there's consistency throughout a grant application, I think, is important. And usually that means at the end, going through everything as a whole and looking at it holistically. And this is something that I've learned because of grants that I have written. So please learn from my experience and think about it from that way. Artistic merit was super great. I just love the diversity and the range of artists in races, abilities, and gender identities. I think that is really, really thoughtful and really reflects any of the attendees. Someone should find someone who looks like them, and representation is so important, as we all know, in the arts. Qualifications also very high. Goals and evaluations. Again, I would like specific goals of what I call, the SMART goals, or increased local attendance by X, just easier to evaluate and to see if you hit your goals and when they are specific. I also appreciated that they take into consideration their artists' feedback pretty heavily. The planning process, really, really great amount of detail. Again, a large group working on it in an organized way. I'm also kind of jealous. I want to work in a group that is so dedicated and that large. So that just means that it's a good use of everyone's time and is well planned. So well done there. The budget, I had a couple of concerns. Overall, the itemization was missing, and that's pretty clearly indicated as a requirement. And so paying attention to those details is helpful. There is a missing line in one of the boxes. It was for $1,900, and I'm not sure what it is for. There's also $3,000 for printing costs, which I know printing is expensive, but that just kind of seems like a lot. And so I didn't know, and maybe the other panelists could tell me, were they printing large things, or, maybe there are banners in there? I wasn't quite sure. So a little bit more detail around that cost would be helpful. Then kind of going down the community demographics, we're mostly focused on the services offered and the attractions in the area, not a whole lot about the people that make up the community. So would love, again, you can use census data there, even if it's a little bit old, or another trusted resource. And I feel like even just being in this in this community, you could even give like a narrative. That'd be helpful, though I like specifics. The outreach and accessibility were really great. I would like to see something for non-English speaking. I think that is important. Under the underserved outreach, they did a really great job of identifying specific groups again, a really good awareness of who their community is. So could put that into the demographics a bit more. Love that there's an open mic opportunity. So like everyone who wants to participate really seems welcomed over this large event. And again, community support got top marks for me. I just think that they do such a great job of getting everyone involved. And how they utilize the community spaces throughout McCook was very cool. We're really integrating this into the community so that the community loves it and everyone kind of, can be part of it. I think that's why it's going to last another 30 years.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, Charlene, over to you.
Thanks, Sarah. That was well said, and I agree with that. And the community involvement is just so strong in this application, and that was really nice to see. I don't think I have anything. Oh, in the outreach and engagement, the application didn't list digital marketing, and that would be a nice addition to help reach a little bit beyond their community, because it seems like they're pretty ingrained in the community. So maybe, reaching out, especially since this is a big year for them, digital could help with that. That's all I have. It's a really strong application.
Thanks, Charlene. All right, Casey.
Yeah, I echo everything that has been said. And I did agree that I felt like the demographics could be a little bit more concrete and not so much of a kind of description of what retail opportunities are in the community. But other than that, yeah, I thought it was incredibly strong.
Thanks. And Eric.
Like Casey, I echo everything. I think I'd like to back Sarah up a little bit more on evaluations, even saying that even though their goals were aligned with the mission, they were very broad and aspirational. So broad and aspirational, I think it could be difficult to define what success is and what the impact is. So finding some more measurable outcomes and clearer evaluation metrics would help them evolve over their next 30 years and even better target things.
Thanks, Eric. All right, please take a moment to adjust your scores if you need to do so. And when you're done, please give me a thumbs up. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll move on to the next application, the Metropolitan Community College. Rachel.
Thanks, Crystal. So this application is to help you for artists and implementation expenses for the 35th annual Fort Omaha Intertribal Powwow, which happens on Saturday, September 12th. They estimate 3,000 to 5,000 attendees from urban and rural communities in Nebraska will attend, and also the broader region of Dakotas to Oklahoma. And will attend the celebration that features traditional Native dance, music, crafts, and food. The funds received will be used to cover artist honorariums, travel expenses, and supplies necessary to carry out the event.
Sorry, my mute button
Yeah, I
lost
don't,
for a second.
that's okay. That's all right. I don't have a lot to add to this. I mean, it's such a strong application, and you can tell that this applicant is really used to writing grant applications. So it's super strong. The attendance is incredible. The artists that they have chosen are very qualified to lead and run and participate in the events. The budget is realistic, though it does include some sponsorships that are still pending, though I understand that given the timeline. The project timeline as well, the planning timeline is well documented. The marketing strategy is robust. They're using traditional media, they're using grassroots efforts, they're using direct outreach to relevant organizations and community groups. I mean, it just seems to check all the boxes for me. I don't have a whole lot to say.
Thanks, Charlene. Next, we've got Sarah.
All right. Yep. Artistic quality comments, none. Well done. Well done. Goals and evaluations, again, a little bit more specific. You had plenty of goals, which is very cool, very thoughtful. But how are you going to specifically measure them and know that you've met them? I feel like because this is so well planned that you could do some advanced goals and evaluations to really help move you forward. Planning process, so good, well done. Budget, delightful. Couple of itemized items were missing. That is being super nitpicky just because it was so good. The only thing that I kind of, would really like to see a little bit more thought of was the outreach and accessibility. I didn't quite see how they're getting into the communities to invite people. Again, I've said this before, but like it would be so cool to see performers in their regalia in public places to really raise awareness and invite people in to this really unique opportunity to get to know cultures that are so important and underserved in our history, in our American history. Community support, would love to see a little bit more maybe from tourism. Maybe they were asked and just didn't have it, but just wanted to make sure because I imagine this is bringing people from across the region, not just within the state. And so that could be really helpful there. But this sounds like it was a really great application for a really great program.
All right. Eric, over to you.
I agree with everything Sarah and Charlene have said. I'll do my normal stump speech of evaluation, getting more specific. Like Sarah, I think they are extremely well positioned to take that next step in measurement and really kind of digging in and using it in a way that's integral to their programming and community engagement.
Thanks, Eric. And Casey.
Yes to all that and nothing more to add.
Okay. If you need to do so, please take a moment to adjust your scores. And once you've done that, please give me a thumbs up and we'll move to the next application. All right, thanks everyone. On to the next application. Rachel, over to you for the Ponca Tribe of Nebraska.
Great, thanks, Crystal. So this application is to help support artists performing at the Ponca Tribe of Nebraska's 32nd annual powwow, which is a multi-day cultural celebration held on the Ponca tribal grounds in Niobrara, Nebraska. It will feature traditional dance, drumming, and song, and the event draws hundreds of Native and non-Native participants from across the region, honoring Ponca cultural heritage and living traditions. The funds awarded will be used to pay artists participating in the powwow, which includes dancers, drummers, cultural head staff, and cultural performers who demonstrate and carry forward Ponca living traditions.
Thanks, Rachel. Eric, over to you.
Thank you, Crystal. This proposal really demonstrates high artistic quality, rooted in living tradition. It obviously carries deep cultural meaning, intergenerational value. I mean, I can't speak enough about the clarity and depth of the project description. It gives such a full picture of what's going to take place, who's going to participate, how the event operates over multiple days, and the scale of participation across age groups. It clearly identifies roles like head dancers, drum groups, arena leadership. It reflects such a strong organization and cultural authenticity in it. The artistic merit itself is really compelling. The way they presented it is not simply a performance event, but like a vital cultural practice and knowledge system was spot on. I liked how they did that. There's really good evidence, really good, strong planning and organizational capacity is shown clearly. Timelines detailed. It shows key steps from early preparation all the way through the post-event review. So it identifies responsible parties for that. I mean, it really gives you a lot of confidence that they know how to carry this out successfully, and there's not going to be a problem along the way. I'm also, I don't praise budgets often, but I found this budget to be a strength. It's like it's well structured, it's balanced, it's realistic, reflects a significant level of financial investment from the organization. I think the goals here are clear and measurable, particularly around attendance, dancer participation, vendor involvement. As has become my thing today, the evaluations are somewhat limited because they're again focused primarily on quantitative outputs like attendance and registration. So it'd be good to see more qualitative measures to assess the participant experience, broader community outcomes, experience of the performers themselves and how they're integrated. Community engagement, again, was really strong on this. They had a good understanding of the rural and geographically dispersed community they're serving. So particularly those challenges of limited access to the arts programming in the region, they seem to have a good grasp on that. So I appreciated those intentional efforts again to reduce the barriers, like the free admission, the community meals, accommodations for elders, inclusive programming that welcomes participants from across generations and multiple tribal communities. It was all like really well done. They're clearly responsive to underserved population. So I just thought this was a really strong application. And I was really pleased with what I was reading and want to travel out to Nebraska to go to this.
Thanks, Eric. Casey.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. As somebody who loves kind of the tediousness of details and organization, this application was a dream. I felt like the applicant knew exactly how to formulate and explain and put everything into context in a beautiful way. And yeah, I have nothing but praise for this application. And also, yes, Eric, I will meet you there and we will go together.
Sarah.
See, this is why we need to contact Tourism Works. Look, there's all bringing tourists into our state. Let's see. Yes, very high in qualifications and artistic merit. I guess under qualifications, the artists do seem very highly qualified, the performers, and so culturally relevant. There was a flyer uploaded as the artist bio, which I think is missing details. Like the work samples were pictures of past events, which are cool, but I don't know. I could have used more there. When writing grant applications, it's really important to remember that not everyone's going to understand what you're talking about. And so breaking things down about like the different performances like head drum, head drummer and stuff. Like, why is that culturally significant? Why is that something I think would have just been helpful? I didn't take any points off of it, but just to like help paint the picture of why this is so important. The budget I had questions about actually. In number 5 under payouts, it said to see the details section, but the details section was empty. There was no list for other support, but the flyer they uploaded had logos. And so I think it could have been an opportunity to list anticipated support if nothing was secured. On the $21,000 for travel, I'm assuming that is to help bring the performers in, but I would have liked details a little bit more on how that breaks down, just because it's such a significant amount. So just making sure that I'm wondering if this is something that's been so well done that they kind of reuse materials and resubmit them, which is great. Love, no need to reinvent the wheel, but making sure that it's relevant and that the details are there as well. And then kind of community support, would love to just see community partnerships outside of the Ponca tribe, outside of the Nebraska Arts Council. Again, this is something that I think community foundations could get behind, and other groups. And so just, if you want to invite people in, you could invite them in as sponsors as well. But overall, super well organized, super important. And I just feel really grateful that we have people doing this work in our state.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah,
and
I think. Go ahead, Crystal. Sorry.
no, I'm just calling on you. So
I don't have much to add. I just want to echo the strong artistic merit and the cultural importance, and how awesome it is that we have this and that it's so strong. Yeah, thank you.
all right. Thanks, everyone. If you need to take a moment to adjust your scores, please do so and give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Charlene, oh, perfect. Okay. All right. Moving on to our next application, the Post Playhouse. Rachel, over to you.
Thanks, Crystal. In 2026, Post Playhouse will again present 5 Broadway-style musicals and repertory with 10 performances a week running Tuesday through Sunday. The season will provide high-quality entertainment for nearly 12,000 visitors from all 50 states in the historic venue located in Fort Robinson State Park. Shows are a mix of accessible favorites and thought-provoking titles, allowing Post Playhouse to serve their audiences with artistic variety while maintaining professional rigor and high production values. Any funds awarded will be used to support the artistic and operational expenses used to run the summer season smoothly, which includes compensation for summer actors and staff, as well as production and administrative costs, including royalties, sets, costumes, and props.
Thanks, Rachel. Casey, over to you.
All right. I really appreciated how kind of clear and concise the applicant was. Everything was very to the point, and I did not have to kind of glean through a lot of narrative to get the answers that I was wanting. So I appreciate that. I thought that it was very clear description of how the funding would be used, and very typical of this kind of series for theater. The planning narratives were strong, and I thought that the applicant did a good job of identifying that they wanted to expand the outreach of their organization, but it kind of ended there, and I wanted a little bit more. I wanted to know, well, how do you think you might do that? Just maybe even indicating a couple of, first steps of kind of tapping your toes into something new. But I did appreciate the fact that they recognized that need, but I wanted a little bit more further thought about that. I also really appreciated the applicants' awareness of the shift in their audience, and that their audience is aging up, And so they have kind of adapted and changed some of their choices to reflect that. And I thought that that was really an effective way of showing that you're in tune with your community and that you want to continue to meet the needs of your current audience that has been with you for a while. But I wanted some more effort put into then, identifying and reaching out to those groups or individuals that you haven't gotten into your space yet, and how can you do that? And so I thought overall the application was really good. I just wanted those a little bit next steps, a little bit further kind of taken, as Eric has said, taking the dive into that next kind of level of thinking ahead and more deeply.
Thanks, Casey. Charlene.
Yeah, I thought the artistic merit was so strong in this with the educational component of bringing in artists from New York to teach and work with youth and adults in the area. That's such a great opportunity and strong artistic merit. They had significant donor support from foundations, corporations, and community members, which speaks to strong community support. I would have liked to see how they're gathering feedback from the broader community. The timeline seemed pretty good, but it didn't include all the preparatory work, such as the admin activities, the marketing, the process for collecting and reviewing feedback after programs. On the feedback note, it seemed like they did a really good job with the artists that they bring in, in working with them. And that feedback is the broader community that I didn't see the feedback in. Media strategy looks really good. They're including statewide magazines, radio stations outside of their primary area. The working with the local schools fill the gap, and the week-long summer camp for children, the internships for college students. It's just really great educational opportunities for the arts. So I thought it was really, really strong.
Thanks, Charlene. All right, Eric.
Well, Casey already touched on my evaluations spiel. So I do think that aside from that, I think there could be more detailed strategies for reaching a broader range of underserved populations and a deeper approach to accessibility beyond like the geographic considerations there. Otherwise, I think Charlene and Casey covered things really well.
All right. And Sarah.
My fellow panelists have covered all of the things. The only thing that I would like to add is their demographic section was fantastic.
All right. Thanks, everyone. If you need to adjust your scores, take a moment, please, and give me a thumbs up when you're ready to move on to the next application. Thanks, Casey. Thank you, Charlene. Eric, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. All right, next application is Sacred Heart Church. Rachel, over to you.
Thanks. So this application is to help you the artists who perform during the Greeley Irish Festival, which will be held on the grounds of Sacred Heart Church on September 19th. They estimate 2,000 people from many states throughout the region and beyond will attend. They provide Irish music, dance, and instrument demonstrations with complementary activities, including cultural and historic displays, as well as interactive maps of Ireland and the US and children's arts that incorporate Irish images and history. They plan to use any funds awarded to the Greeley Irish Festival to pay the artists involved, which include nationally known as well as international performers.
All right, another wonderful application for what seems to be fantastic programming and fantastic event. My grandfather took himself to Ireland for his 80th birthday, and so I feel like that lineage in me is like, man, wish he was around. He would totally go to this. Project description, artistic merit qualifications, super highly scored, really well done. You can tell again that they've been doing this a long time and they have it down pat. And that they are really thoughtful in the way that they have described their application, have described the project in the application to give lots of background information, which I appreciated. Goals and evaluation, again, a little bit more specifics. Eric and I are going to stand on the soapbox together with just like a little bit more, especially from these organizations that seem to really have it tuned in. Planning process was great. They really seem to have a very dedicated group of citizens that work on this, and my heart and thanks go out to them. Like, it's people like this that just make, these sort of things. They just enrich the culture of Nebraska and give us so many opportunities of things to go to. I really appreciated the budget. I love a good budget, and the breakdown of the other, they use that space to provide some details that really, creates trust when allotting money to organizations. So details mean that things have been thought out, and I appreciate that. Community demographics could have been a little bit more robust, again, using census data. The specific numbers of population that make up the poverty level and the non-white portion of the population, I appreciate that they really acknowledge it and they are making things accessible. But again, to paint the picture for those who don't know, that data is really, really important. Outreach and accessibility was great. They create the flyer and the feedback form in Spanish. But again, once Spanish speakers get there, what do they have? Do they feel welcomed? At minimum, I would like that the signs also be in Spanish. What does it need to be, to you get them there. And then if they feel isolated, they're not going to come back. And so if you get them there, make sure that they feel welcomed there. Community support, so beloved. I think, that's fantastic. And I think this is a program that the community really gets behind. Marketing was well thought out. Could be kind of digital ads, a little bit more maybe to get some of those sort of niche interests. You can really, tone that down in social media marketing. It could be beneficial in the future. I didn't include any of that in my scoring, but I think it's something to think about. So overall, well done. And again, we're so great. We're so lucky to have such dedicated people in our state.
Thanks, Sarah. Eric.
Sarah did a really good job, so I'll be pretty brief. I just want to highlight a few things. I was really impressed from the artistic quality standpoint here. I just think that all the artists they've engaged appear to be really highly qualified, and they include educational and interactive components like the Cultural Center and the children's art activities that just kind of provided depth beyond just showing up performances. So it provides that kind of personal, interactive touch that can really impact someone, especially the kids, for a long time to come. Make this something that people want to come back to. Regarding evaluations, Sarah did great on this. I don't have a lot to say beyond that, although I was pleased to see that they're including the artists and vendors as part of their evaluation process. That's something a lot of people don't do. And I think it's an important viewpoint to take as well. If they have a good time, if they get something from that travels as well. Just emphasizing that I appreciated their efforts to increase accessibility, the ADA accommodations, the Spanish language materials I thought were great. Like Sarah, I had some concerns about, okay, what happens on site? But the fact that they're reaching out to the populations intentionally and making efforts, a good step in that direction. I think that there could be a little more proactive or targeted outreach, particularly for some underserved audiences. They're relying a lot on word of mouth here, but that being said, they're making meaningful efforts. I think that's more of like a next step than any detriment to what they're presenting here.
Thanks, Eric. Charlene.
I echo what Sarah and Eric have said. I don't have anything to add. It was a really strong application and artistic merit was clear. Yeah.
And Casey.
The only thing I wanted to note was I think it's so super smart to offer a free t-shirt for completing a survey. That is a great way to get some feedback.
All
Real,
right.
real quick, sorry, gonna hop in here because yes, Casey, I'm so glad you highlighted it. The other thing I wanted to highlight is that they put in that feedback from the Nebraska Arts Councils and surveys prompted us to change our ADA accessible entrance. The fact that you put that in your grant application, that like, hey, we heard what you said last time and are addressing it this time, well done.
Thanks to everyone. If you need to adjust your score, please take a moment to do so and then give me a thumbs up when you're ready to move on to our last application. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Charlene, Eric, Sarah. Awesome. All right, Rachel, Theater West Summer Repertory.
All right. So Theater West Summer Repertory is located in Scottsbluff on the campus of Western Nebraska Community College. An independent nonprofit organization, Theater West provides or produces 3 main stage shows each June and July and 2 youth musicals in January and late July. Since 1990, Theater West has presented quality theater to the Western Nebraska region, utilizing local talent, professional actors, directors, emerging talent, and skilled collegiate personnel from all parts of the country. Theater West has 2 year-round staff and pays seasonal actors, directors, crew, and musicians. And they will use funds to pay for those expenses. They also hire 2 summer box office associates and a company manager. The grant funds may also offset licensing fees and production expenses.
Thanks, Rachel. Charlene.
The artistic quality and merit on this application was really strong and really well stated. The benefit to the community, both economically, culturally, and artistically, it was well stated in the application. The opportunity for the mix of artists that are involved, and local youth and adults and collegiate professionals and other professionals from New York, is just such a nice mix of educational opportunities. In the planning and evaluations, I didn't have a lot to add. It seemed really clear and straightforward. The corporate donations were not itemized. That might be because this is early and they're just not secured yet. But it would have been nice to see a little bit more narrative there on who they plan to speak to or who has been there in the past. The outreach and engagement, grassroots marketing, such as attendance at other community events, is really smart. The inviting Girl Scout troops and other youth groups is a good way to get community engagement and get the word out. It seems like they're doing well to make up for a lack of traditional media, which they state in their application that there's a lack of that in their area due to the newspapers being gone and slow radio and so forth. But again, digital media can help offset some of that too. That's all I have.
Thanks, Charlene. Casey, over to you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I agree with everything that Charlene said. My biggest suggestion about this application I think it would have benefited from a little bit more thoughtful work sample. It was I think about a 2-minute video, but I would have liked to have seen something more. They mentioned a lot of like the educational components, and I would have liked to have seen things representing those. But overall, I think they did a good job of explaining everything. And I would have liked a little bit more connection to the community. I felt like a little bit the viewpoint or the lens that the applicant was writing through was as part of the community college. And so maybe looking outside of that base and more community driven would have been nice. But I thought they did a really good job of identifying goals and how they evaluate their success based on those goals. And that they're showing that they're using those post surveys and exit interviews to adapt year over year. They show an awareness about kind of the challenges that they face, shifting entertainment paths. And I would have liked a little bit more about, like, you know, this is kind of where our head is of moving forward, how we're going to address that. But overall, I thought it was a good application.
Thanks, Casey. Eric.
Yeah, I think, again, my soapbox, more clearly defined measurable outcomes tied to the project objectives for evaluation would be great. I think what they have is very general. Other thing I would highlight is, you know, just as an area of could be improved, is more targeted strategies for engaging specific underserved populations, particularly the ones that identified in the demographics. I think those are the two areas I would add on to. Otherwise, Casey and Charlene covered everything I had in my notes.
All right. And Sarah.
Same. Thank you, Eric, for calling out the more specifics about the underserved outreach. I thought that an area that could be just a little bit just more detailed and more strategic. Everyone else did a good job of covering everything. Going back to the budget, the numbers were all there, which is great, but it's really important to follow the directions of itemizing, just so we can get a real idea of what money is going where. And are, like, for example, a question I had were are all the actors being paid the same amount? Are there kind of different tiers? Just sort of how that breaks down. Because, and again, a budget, and especially the way the Nebraska Arts Council does it, in that they have a space for details, should be helping to support painting a picture of what this funding is being used for and how it supports the project. But I've always heard good things about Theater West from my friends who are in the arts, the performing arts. And so it's really great to learn more through this application. And again, another organization that seems to have stuff down pat, and I just really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sarah. All right. If you need to adjust your scores, please take a moment and do so. And then if I can get a thumbs up when you've done that. Eric, thank you, Sarah. Oh, sorry. Apologies, there's a fire drill going on. But I can see that everyone has done their thumbs up. Are you able to hear that? Okay, I know it's a drill, so I'm not concerned. I'm going to go ahead and finish this out before our next break. But now that all applications have been discussed and scored, we'll take a 5-minute break. And during this time, NAC staff will tally the scores and prepare information for final discussion. When panelists reconvene, we'll review the procedures and make final determination. The final portion of this meeting is closed to the public, so we will end the live stream now. But before we do, I'll remind all applicants that you will be notified in June about the funding decisions for this grant category. So to all those watching today, thank you for joining, and goodbye.
Panelists, we will come back at 10:50.
Crystal, you're